everyone, and welcome to week 6. This week, actually, we're going to start our very first microeconomic chapter. It's called Elasticity. So, let me adjust that. So far, all the topics that we discussed were common between microeconomics and macroeconomics. But starting from this chapter, we're basically more focused on only microeconomic topics, okay? And we're going to start with elasticity. So if you still have a problem understanding demand and supply that we discussed in chapter 3, I definitely encourage you guys to go back to chapter 3, review especially demand and the determinants of demand, those factors that can shift our demand, change our demand. Definitely review them before we start. So the goal of this chapter is basically to measure how much our consumers buy different goods and services when there is a change in price. Okay, so we're going to measure that change in amount of goods and services that consumers buy when there is a change in price. So in chapter 3, when we talked about demand, we discussed that, okay, if the, for instance, if price increases, the quantity demanded will go down and vice versa. We also had the same argument for for supply. So we're going to discuss basically in chapter 6 that how much more or less consumers buy when it comes to demand and how much more or less the producers or the sellers sell in the market. We're going to measure that. And our important tool basically is elasticity. That's why we have different types of elasticity. We have price elasticity of demand, we have price elasticity of supply. If you also remember in chapter 3, we talked about income and how the change in income can change the demand, if you remember. So if we're talking about, let's say, a normal good, if your income increases, your demand for normal goods will go up. If your income increases, your demand for inferior good will go down. We have another elasticity that measures, again, how much, again, more or less people purchase goods and services when there is a change in income. We call it income elasticity. And we also talked about price of related goods, if you remember, substitute, complement, in chapter 3. So that's why we have another elasticity, which is called cross elasticity, that tells us again how much more or less people purchase, let's say, substitute goods when there is a change in price, or complementary goods when there is a change in price. So that's basically the goal of this chapter. And you will see that the focus of the chapter is mainly on price elasticity of demand. We will define price elasticity of demand, price elasticity of supply, income elasticity, cross elasticity, but we also have formulas for them. You need to learn how to use the formulas, of course, for the midterm exam, for the final exam. As I probably mentioned it before, you can have all the formulas in front of you, but make sure you know how to use them, okay? And I created separate videos on D12 where you can watch basically how we can use the formulas, and let me know if you still have any question. It's not really that complicated. It's not I know we have a little bit of math, but trust me, the math is not complicated, okay? It's just applying basically the formula. So make sure you know how to use the formula. What else? Another important thing that that you will learn in price elasticity of demand and price elasticity of supply is that we look at the absolute value of our result when we are done with calculating price elasticity of demand or supply, meaning that we ignore the sign and we always look at the positive value of our result. And then we compare our result with number 1. That's the only time that we're going to actually use this number 1 for price elasticity of demand, price elasticity of supply. So because we want to basically see, for instance, for price elasticity of demand, how sensitive the buyers are to changes in price. Are they going to freak out when you change the price by 1 cent, or they don't care, they keep buying it? They are going to buy less, but the change in the demand or the change in the amount of goods and services that they purchase is not really that significant. Okay, that's what we mean by inelastic. Okay, when you look at the notes, you will definitely see that. And let me also tell you one more thing, that when I send you my weekly emails, I also leave a link to another video, two videos. One of them is the video that I'm talking to you right now, just telling you what's going on every week. But there's also another video where is specific for that chapter. Okay, if the chapter has some sort of a discussion, like I'm doing it for, let's say, chapter 6. So these are the videos where I'm talking over the notes. I get this question a lot, that do you have such a thing, or they are long. I know they are long, but it's like you're sitting in the classroom. So for instance, for chapter 6, I teach it in 2 to 3 sessions in my face-to-face classes. So I know it's long, but take a break, okay? But I try to break down everything, especially when you are going through the notes. You can watch those videos, and then I'm giving you more information. I'm explaining more things over each slide, okay? So that's the reason I'm sharing them with you, is because of that, okay? So anyhow, for price elasticity of demand, price elasticity of supply, to see if the demand is elastic, meaning that if consumers are sensitive to price changes, we're going to compare our results with number 1, okay? If people are not that sensitive to price changes, then we say that the demand is inelastic. It's the same thing also for supply. But for income elasticity and cross elasticity, you will see that the only thing we care about is just the sign, because we're trying to figure out, let's say for income elasticity, if the product that we're discussing is normal or inferior. Or for cross elasticity, the sign of cross elasticity will tell us the relationship between the two products that we're talking about. Let's say we're changing the price of coffee, and then we want to see how much the demand for tea as a substitute is changing. So definitely the the cross elasticity of coffee and tea is positive because they are substitute. But for instance, if I'm talking about coffee and sugar, that they are complementary because you never drink your coffee without sugar, then the cross elasticity between these two should be always negative, okay? So the sign matters for income elasticity and cross elasticity, but for price elasticity of demand, price elasticity of supply, we look at the absolute value. We ignore the sign, because remember that the price elasticity of demand is always always negative because of the law of demand that we discussed in chapter 3. We're not really worried about the sign of price elasticity of supply because it's always positive because of law of supply. But just wanted to kind of make it easier for you to remember. For price elasticity of demand, price elasticity of supply, just look at the absolute value. But for cross elasticity, income elasticity, keep the sign, okay? So as usual, you have a homework from this chapter. Let me know if you have any question. I hope that you are having a good week. And also, I wanted to remind you about, let me just go to my D12 quickly. I just wanted to remind you about the important upcoming, basically, deadline we have, which is your midterm exam. So your midterm exam is over chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So these are the chapters that you should study. Okay, I was looking for the dates. So the midterm exam will be from October 7th, October 4th. Let me check again here. October 7th to October 11, okay, to October 11. So that's the time that you can basically take midterm exam. Remember one thing, that when you study for the midterm exam, for the midterm, try to review all the lecture notes, read the textbook. Remember, you learn more from the textbook. My lecture notes are shorter version of each chapter that we cover. So make some time and read them. Review homework. I also put practice questions for you for both midterm exam and for the final exam. Let me see if it's in week 6. Yes, The practice question is in week 6, if you go to D12. So these are the questions with answers. Just make sure you understand them. Watch the videos, make sure that you understand any topic that you are basically studying. If you don't capture the concept of the topic, you will have problem with the question on the midterm exam. I put more information about the midterm exam. Remember, the midterm exam in my email. The midterm exam is proctored. So as I mentioned it at the beginning of the semester, you need an external webcam or a webcam that is inside your laptop. And as I told you, again, at the beginning of the semester, you can check out a laptop from Lone Star College Sci-Fair if you need one. I'm not sure, of course, at this point, if they still have anything in stock. Just reach out to them and ask the college. The exam is timed, so pay attention to time. You can have your notes, you can have your formulas with you, but don't get distracted because honestly, you should read everything beforehand, and the notes should not be the notes that we discuss in like weekly videos or lecture notes that you have. The notes should be those that can give you some hint about a topic. So don't go through the entire notebook or the entire notes that you have. You do not have time for that because you have some calculations to do. So have your calculators ready. Have your formulas ready, but again, make sure you know how to use the formulas. You can have notes, but I honestly don't recommend it. I know that some of you are more confident having them. Okay, so have it, but don't get distracted, because if you spend a lot of time finding materials from the notes, you are going to waste your time. So notes are for those students who already studied everything, they know everything, and these are just few things for them to remember. As I said, the test is timed, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so you should be fine, honestly, if you understand everything, if you read the notes, know how to use the formulas, you should be fine. Okay, so you have few days to take it. I always tell my students, do not wait till last minute, especially like Monday at 10. Don't email me. Don't expect me to be available at on Monday night at 10. I might be sleeping. I also have my life, right? So do not expect that. If you're running into any problem, I understand that you want to study or whatnot and take it on the last day, which is okay if you prefer that, but I definitely don't suggest you take it 1 hour before the deadline. If you run into a technical issue, I might not be available to help you. Connect support might not be available to help you. You have a few days to take it on any day that you want. If you run into any problem, email me, and only email me, send your email to my Lone Star email, because I have it on my phone. Don't send anything on D12. I'm not going to check that. I might be late checking that. It's not that I'm not checking it. It might be late. So if anything urgent, send it to my Lone Star, and make sure you are using your Lone Star. Put your name, your course number, your section number. Believe it or not, we are in week 6. I still get email from you guys, your friends, that they do not include their information. I teach 6 different classes. It's hard for me to go to all of my rosters to find you. So it is your responsibility. And as I put it on my syllabus, I told you on the first day, it is your responsibility to give me the information, and it's faster for me to get back to you. Okay, so don't forget that. I wish you all the best on the test. Until next time, take care. Let me know if you have any question.